Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope tonight's information is gives you a heads up, an advantage. I hope you understand the power of these vendor shows. Danny has said to me on more than one occasion, you're the only woman I know that has built this great big business with complete strangers. And that really is true, because I knew one man in Helena. You've heard my story. He wasn't interested in my marijuana, even though he's known me for years, and I'm not sure that he really gets it. However, I do have to say my update is that he was actually at my last meeting. Go figure. Anyway, I did my business because I learned the power of vendor shows. We have a great group of women here who are going to assist me in this presentation. Today's goal is just to fire you all up and help you understand you can do this. We'll just give you some steps, and then we are going to do Vendor Show 102 and really drill it down for you and give you some details. We just wanted to give you an opportunity to, one, get started, find some shows, and rock and roll this thing. So we're going to go on. We're going to share a PowerPoint that Lori has put together for us. If you have questions, put them in the chat line, because Mindy Walker and our people are going to actually answer some of your questions as we're moving on. So if you've got questions, great. And then we will have a Q&A at the end of this presentation. So write those things down so you're getting the answers and the information that you need. So I want you to meet my panelists. Here they are. These people have all done really very well in the vendor show market. And as we go on, each one of them is going to introduce themselves to you and kind of give you a background about who they are, and give you some tips on vendor shows. They're wise women. We did some setup for this and I learned some great things. So I'm sure you will too. Tonight's agenda is absolutely very simple. We're going to talk success stories, how to find a show, the preparation you need to do, top tips, which I can hardly wait for. Like I said, I learned today, and you're going to be excited to learn what they've got to share. And then we're going to do the Q&A, and then take a picture of this. Take a picture as we're going through these slides. Grab them on your phone so you remember. We're going to do this again May the 12th. We wanted to get it done right away again because we're going to fire you up, and you're going to want to have the rest of the information. So, all right, here we go. Success stories. So we're actually going to go, we'll grab a few of these people as we go so everybody gets an opportunity to share. What's the most money you have made at a show? And that is one of the biggest questions that I get asked. And so I will start. My very biggest show was it might have been a 2 or 3 day show in little tiny Great Falls, Montana. Way back in probably October of 2017, I did $6,000 in 2 days. They thought I was Santa Claus and it was Christmas time, because in Montana, you were not getting CBD at that time. Of my panelists, who wants to share what you have done money-wise? Who's next? Judy?
This is Sandy. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sandy. Or Judy. Hi. Or Sandy?
Hello.
Hey,
I'm
Sandy.
Sandy Potter.
Thank you.
And we have Kathy Keating here. And we actually own dog kennels. We have Funny Farm Pet Care. And we've been taking our CBD on the road. And we've had a lot of luck with that, with the pets having an introduction. And probably the best show we've done was in this past March, actually, March of this year, Williamton, Ohio. We did $4,200, just over that, in a 5-day dog show.
Wow. That's really awesome.
Pretty awesome.
All right. Yeah, that's great. I do have to tell just a tiny quick story, even though I'm in charge, I get to talk all I want to. I helped somebody who called me and said, I hear you do vendor shows. We spent 45 minutes on the phone. We get to a convention, I don't remember, it might've been Dallas. And she overheard somebody talking, Robin, and she whips around and she says, you're Robin Rao? And I'm like, yeah. And she said, I'm the one that you helped me because you spent all that time on the phone with me. I made $21,000 at that vendor show. I was her hero. I was so tickled that she did that. The possibilities are huge. Judy Clancy, tell us about you.
Hey, I got a great success story because I signed up to do a vendor booth. It was last minute. It was their last booth, and it was in the back far corner of a large Sweet Adeline International Competition convention. We made $16,000 in 5 days.
Holy moly.
It was worth it. Even if you don't know what you're doing, do it.
Indeed, indeed. Cindy Ellis, you go.
Sure, I'll just add on to that. We had a blast because we teamed up and we went after anybody and everybody who walked in. And my success is that I've got a couple in my downline who are making thousands of dollars at each and every one of these. And so I just have to do a shout out to my team because they're rocking it with boosts. So they're making thousands of dollars at each and every one that they go to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Good deal. Gina Berry, you want to share with us briefly? You're muted. There you go, girl.
Yep. Okay, so, I'm also here in Montana. I'm currently at City, made $900 in 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Tiny
Very,
town,
very good.
Montana.
Okay, perfect. Does anybody else want to share how much money they've made on a show and how many days it took you before we move on?
Hey, Robin, it's Lee. Hey, right at 2 days, we did $3,500 profit, but we signed up 7 people, which was huge because, that ended up bringing out brand new partnerships that we're working with today. So
wow,
don't
Lee,
take for granted signing up people at the show.
That is awesome. The one of the beautiful things about vendor shows is that you get out of your neighborhood, you get out of your influence, and you get into the world, and that is worth a lot in its own. So, all right, how do you find a show? That's one of the biggest questions that we ask. And what kind of shows am I looking for? So as you see on this list, all kinds of fair, your local fair, state fairs, they are good. They're very long. They're usually at least 5 to sometimes 12 days. So they're exhausting, but they're very profitable. Festivals, there are all kinds of festivals. Don't limit yourself. Even the ones where they're reenacting, those kinds of festivals. We're going to do the Apple Blossom Festival in Wenatchee. Look for festivals. Industry events is great. Trade shows are awesome. Rodeos are great. Those doggone cowboys need what we have. Get into a farmer's market. Gina was just saying to me, because in our local market, we haven't been able to get into the market, but she found a loophole, which was, am I adding value to the community? And so if your farmer's market is saying, if it's not homemade, we don't want you, try that other angle, but I am adding value to the community. And she got into a show we've been trying to get into for a long, long time. And then dog shows. And I'm going to bring Sandy back to the line here because I want her to share. We forget about our four-legged friends and the dog shows. They're awesome. Sandy, share with us a little bit about your dog show experience.
Yeah, the nice thing about the dog shows is there's such a variety. You can do a 1-day show, 2-day show, up to a 7-day show. There's a variety throughout the country. And you can just look it up on Facebook, look up dog shows in your area. And the really neat thing is that once you get into those dog shows, you start creating relationships with other vendors, and then they'll start telling you about other dog shows that were popular for them. The thing that we like best is that the dogs are a conversational piece. So what ends up happening is that when we have a genuine conversation with about their pets as they walk by, then we also have the opportunity to also include them, because as you know, dog shows, if you haven't been to one, they're pretty hard work. They're running around rings all day, and so you not only get the pet help, you also get the handler and the owners and those folks for help too. So
yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say my very first dog show, because it just occurred to me, gee, I should do dog shows. We set it up, the thing opened, a lady came over and said to me, I'll take a 30-day for myself and one for my dog. And I thought, all right, we're on to something here. So that was pretty cool. And the other cool thing about dog shows, Sandy, is that you can join one in a city and actually kind of follow the dog shows through 3 or 4 cities.
You sure can.
Yeah, and that's pretty cool. So don't not think about dog shows for sure. And then where do you find events? This is kind of a brain dump from our panelists. We were Chamber of Commerce, conventions and visitor bureaus, social media. You can type on Facebook, you can just say vendor shows nearest me and join groups. And then once you've joined a group, you will get a notice that because they're always looking for vendors. So you'll get a notice, hey, there's a vendor show in Billings, Montana. You will need an application, and I will do that, or I will send that notice on to my ambassadors in Billings, Montana. So always join groups on Facebook. They're very, very good. Referrals, that's what Sandy was saying to you. Oftentimes you find the best shows that are kind of secrets through referrals. And the cool thing about referrals that Lee was sharing with us this morning was sometimes you'll get a vendor show and they won't advertise. They'll take your money, but they won't advertise. And so there you are, it's crickets and you're kind of looking at one another. That's why the referrals are really great. Lee, do you want to speak to that for a moment?
Yeah, Robin, I mean, my biggest thing is I've been taken by a couple of shysters in the industry, so always be very wise when you invest in a show, because it's a business, treat it like a business. And another thing I found was referral, like you just said, referral. And another thing we didn't even mention was PTAs, charity events. A lot of people are looking for people to donate auction items, and they'll let you have a little booth or something there at the event. And another thing we talk about is Nextdoor app. Use your Nextdoor app. That's an excellent tool for people to go in there and start a conversation. Hey, do you know when they're doing their festival? And your whole neighborhood will tell you everything going on. Also, another fun thing we didn't put on here, but was like garage sales. You would be so surprised whenever you're having a neighborhood garage sale. Set you a table up with some of your product and empty bottles so you can share, and then hand out brochures and then have those conversations. Even if you can't do it right there during your garage sale, you at least can follow back up with your neighbors. Absolutely.
That's a great tip. So fantastic. Okay, the other really great big question that I always get is, how much should I pay for a booth? I'm very strict about this because I have learned through trial and error, and my panelists will jump in here. You can pay $50 for a booth that might see 1,000 people, or you can pay $2,600 for a booth and they advertise 30,000 people, 3 days. I never advise you to do that expensive one, because you're only you and maybe another partner or even 5 partners. How many people can you actually see in a day? So don't be tempted, because it's a women's show in Utah, Salt Lake City, Utah, and it's only $1,600, but we're going to have 40,000 women through this vendor show. You can only see the amount of people that you can only see. You're better off, I believe, with a smaller show paying, I don't want to pay more than $100 a day. It's hard for me to give up even that. But that's okay, because I always share it. So we split the cost of the booth. And the amount of people doesn't matter to me. I just want to make sure it's being advertised. And if I can get 500 people through that time, I'm going to see most of those people. And that's about all I can do. Who wants to jump in from Cindy, go ahead.
Robin, I just wanted to say that I got some of my best money personally when I did a trunk show that cost me $5 for a parking spot. So you worked out of the back of your truck, the back of your car, you set it up. I had a lawn chair, and I made more money talking to people one-on-one there, paying only $5 for my parking spot, than I do if I pay for a huge event and have to go through all the rigmarole. And I just want to say one thing too, to add to that, is every state is different. So look at your township, your county, your state events, right? Go into your local township, your local, community center, those kind of places. You get these little events where you make a lot of money in a short amount of time. And I don't know about you, but that's really valuable, especially you're helping your own community.
Yes, I agree with that completely.
If I could add to that, this is Pam.
Yes, Pam.
I'm an area ambassador here in Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. And I did a very small one in December. We're still very much on lockdown, but one of our small youth ministries here in Elizabethtown holds it the beginning of December every year. And it's like a fundraiser for them in the respect that we get the booth for free. They just asked for a donation at the end of the night. So in 3 hours on a Friday night, I did $800 and signed one person. So it was worth 3 hours of my Friday night. for sure.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Yeah, small towns, churches, little tiny events are absolutely worth it, especially if you can even do it by yourself or just with your partner. They tend to be very, very profitable, and you make such great connection, right?
Robin, can I say one other thing about product? We
Sure.
put a lot of product out and we fill our empty bottles with sand. So if anybody decides to walk away with something, we haven't lost a product, because that
Mhm.
happens every now and then. But
Mhm.
I like to put a note in that says, does your mother know you steal? No. No, I put a
Yeah.
note inside that says how to reach me if you really want some.
Very good. Very smart for you. All right. Anybody else have something they want to share about how much to pay for a booth before we move on to that next one?
Robin,
Robin, Gwen had a great story. It was her first big event last week, and she rocked it. But
Yeah.
do you want to tell them real quick, Gwen, how you did it?
Sure. So it was my first event. I had no idea what I was doing. Basically, I was asked, it was a natural festival, and it was called Healthy Hippie Cafe. And so Lee came and helped me, and we set up, and we just started talking and basically sharing the topical with people, having them put it on and walking around, and it just went like crazy when people were coming back. And so we were selling, and we signed up 2 people that are actually really on fire. So it was a great, great day.
Wow. That's awesome. Great. Okay, Mindy Walker, would you like to answer the question, where's the best place for my booth? I know you've done a lot. I have an opinion, but I'm going to let you share. What do you think?
I like to be in a corner, more specifically the corner that is when you walk in the entrance and you go to the right. People always gravitate going right? So we always think to enter, we're going to go right. So I like to be at that far right end, maybe in the second booth in. That way we're catching them all when they are fresh, right? And they still have some money left. They
Mhm.
haven't spent it all yet.
Mhm.
And we're able to give them a sample, and they can go check out the rest of the scene. And by that time should be feeling some benefit from it. So that's my
Absolutely.
favorite place to be.
That's my favorite place to be. And I like the outside corner. So I'm getting two exposure spaces. So all the way to the right, the second outside corner is my favorite spot too. Anybody else want to share?
well, I'll say that mine, because I was had the last booth space left, it was the very back right corner. And I found that to be an advantage because it had a screen behind it. A lot of people love to go behind that screen and apply the topical. They would just drop their pants and apply the
Yeah.
topical on their knees and hips. And
Mm-hmm.
that worked out nicely too, because we had an area for extra chairs for people to sit. And when you're in the middle of a vendor space, you're not going to have that. So that worked to an advantage.
Very good. Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to say too as we go is I'm looking at this picture here. I love what they've done. The only thing that I always recommend is if there's a way to put those tall banners up on a table, that you're not in front of your banner, that it's up on a table so it's visible from much further away. So I always, if I'm coming in and I'm prepping a booth, I'm always putting those big banners up on a back table. I bring a back table for that purpose. That's what I've noticed in that great setup there. So how much product do I take? So that's really, really the big question. And it's a hard question to answer because you really never know. The very first one that I did, the one I said I sold $6,000 worth of product, I took money out of my husband's 401k. I didn't have a clue what I was doing or how much to do. I just did a lot. And we sold most of it. So it was just randomness. But I always recommend buy enough that you're buying it in the lowest tier. So you're making the biggest bang for your buck, because you will sell it over the season. Absolutely will sell it. But I'd like some, what anybody else who's doing these says about how much product they bring.
The other advantage, I think, Robin, to having a lot of product there is then you're able, when people sign up and enroll, you're able to give them your product. They walk out of there with their package, and then you just have it shipped to your address. So that's an advantage. The
Very
other
much.
advantage of having a lot of product, maybe more than you know you're going to use, is what happened for me that happened to fall in the same month I'm trying to rank, right?
Mhm.
And so that BV, that extra BV for buying that product at the tiered pricing is what helped push me up to national. So it does have its advantages.
Oh, I know it does. Anybody else want to share how they kind of figure out how much they need?
Well, I just want to say
Sandy?
I like that too. The whole idea of being able to give them product as they enroll right in the booth. Because the other thing I like to do is sometimes I want to give a little free gift for enrolling, and that encourages them to think about it more because I can give it to them right now and then send the product to me. So I like that idea too.
Absolutely. And the key is when you're filling out the application, you send their product to you. So there's just no question about how you're going to get it back. It's a win-win for everybody, for sure. Gina, did you want to say?
Yes, ma'am. I would say, use your best judgment. And if you accidentally run out of something, use that to your advantage, saying that that was like the hot product of the day. And, you can certainly still collect the money and ship it to them when you get home. Throw in a free little mini topical or something as a thank you for your patience. There's all kinds of ways to spin that. So.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Robin, I want to support you on saying buy the product at the cheapest possible discounted rate, right? We bought cases of it when we started doing events. And the nice thing is your profit margin is massive when you do these small events, when you buy it at that price. And we found that people are almost always willing to pay the suggested retail price for every one of our products. We don't do a big discount. We don't try to, we don't want to undercut how amazing the product is. And we found that worked really well. So you want to make a big profit, buy it at the cheapest discount rate.
Absolutely. I've done it from day one and it's paid off for me. Absolutely. So,
Hey, Robin,
okay.
this
Yes.
is Sandy. I was going to say, and don't forget about those star gifts. Keep an eye out for those mini bottles that come around, because that's the best way for a lot of people. They'll get product fast and just as reasonable.
Absolutely. So I see Michelle is asking, what do we sell the product for? And it kind of depends on the state that you're in. In Montana, we are 130. Ron, who sells the heck out of this product out of his dog training facility, he sells 5 to 8 bottles a day, and he's selling them for $140 a bottle. He just raised his prices. So anybody else want to share what you're selling your product for at the fair?
Robin, we're the same as you here in Pennsylvania. We do it at 130.
130, right. Listen, guys, I don't apologize for the cost of this product, because if you understand this product, it is the absolute best value in the CBD world. It truly, truly is. When you can have a bottle last as long as our bottle lasts and you get the absorption rate that you're getting, do not apologize. You've got the best product you could have in your hands for sure. All right, let's talk about staffing and wearing Zilis apparel. Absolutely, we wear Zilis apparel. Before they started making apparel, as you can imagine, I had the blingiest Zilis across my chest, as big as I could get it. It's a great place to do that. Staffing, I want to talk about staffing a little bit. You need enough people so you can take a break. You don't need so many people that you're falling all over yourselves. What we did in my table was that Marty was an over talker. So people would start to glaze over and fall asleep, and Marty's still telling them about the benefits of the product. So what we did was take a back table and a staging table for Marty to bag and receipt, and he kept himself very, very busy. We kept him away from the people, because he just overtalked, right? He was very, very sweet. So So have enough people that someone can be packaging and receipts and keeping your stock current. However, I want to say another thing about staffing is, and this has been my experience, you can all share with me. Sometimes we'll share a booth. So there might be a booth that's a 3 or 4 day booth, and you want to share it with your downline because you want to get them into vendor shows. But you need to make it very clear to them, your window is from 4 in the morning until 10 at night, or 6 hours or 5 hours, because what happens if you don't really give somebody a specific window that they can be in the booth, they come early and they're having so much fun, they stay longer, and pretty soon your booth is full of 5 and 6 people because nobody wants to go home. So just know that just be very clear about your hours for your people. These displays that we have shown are awesome. Tablecloths are great. They don't have to be Zilis tablecloths by any stretch, but if you have them, they're great. I do love the one that's this banner down here because the big black tablecloth is big. The banner here is really very, very good, right? Anybody else want to say anything about the setup here?
I would just say that, that Purple Dream banner, we elevated that. So that caught their attention more. And as Lee mentioned earlier, you don't have to have everything CBD. Zilis. You can just buy those very top banners that were really bright in color, were $20 on Amazon. All right, because we were in the very back of the room, so we needed something really bright. If you're outdoors, you have to think about that and what might blow away. Sometimes those Zilis banners might blow away. So you need, floaters and things that are going to catch the wind and draw attention to your booth.
Right. And let's talk about handouts. And you guys, please jump in if you've got something to share. I don't give everybody that passes by my booth a handout. I just don't. But if you've purchased a product, you of course are going to get a handout. And I always do, and I have to redo it, but I have a dosing instructions. So I know that their people are taking this product appropriately. So I have dosing just for the basics, right? Just for CBD and CBG. Also, applications, absolutely important to have the applications. Please have a business card. The other thing about an event invitation is always, always, always have an event set up on a stock card that says there's a Zoom call, or whatever is the next presentation that these people could see. We always, every time, we planned a local meeting in, like, if we were in Great Falls, we used the lobby where they serve breakfast, and we did a presentation, and we had on our card, presentation Sunday night at 7 o'clock. Come and I'll give you a sample. We would get 10 and 11 people there. That was very successful for us because we always had a live meeting for people to go to. Sometimes it was just Marty and I, and it was crickets, but most of the time somebody came to my live meeting, and I was always prepared with an invitation, either live meeting or the next presentation or presentation that I was preparing to do. I've got that on my calendar, and I'm passing out invitations. Okay, anybody else want to share about that?
Robin, I stopped giving out flyers too, just because of all the printout of the paper. I put everything laminated. I let them look at it. If they tell me they want it, I hand them my phone and I tell them to put their name and number in my contacts, and I can send it to them straight from my Zilis app. And it worked beautifully in December. Now that was a small event, but if you're doing an event and you have several of you at the table and you're all getting people, it's very easy to do. And then you have their number and you can follow up. So,
and having them take a picture of your business card, having them take a picture of these things is really so important for them to do, because they're probably going to dump your paper, but they are going to say, oh yeah, I've got that on my phone. So have them suggest they take that. Sample products. We are product sampling people. If you as a vendor show person do sample, raise your hand and let us know that you're doing that and how important that is. Absolutely. So we product sample, we supply spoons. I know some people use the little squeezy thing. I don't really care for that because it leaves a lot of product in the little squeezy thing. So we use, I buy 10,000 spoons. It Costco. And so we have a clean spoon for everybody. I always have a bottle of water in case some people object to the taste of some things. But it's 1 or 2 bottles of water. You don't need very much, and popsicle sticks for the topical. Gina, you have something to say?
Yes, make sure you have a garbage can too.
Yeah. What I do, I have my vendor show prepared. I have 5 plastic boxes from Walmart, and I have all of that in there. So I've got my tablecloths, I've got everything that I need, my spoons and all of that, including I have a great big gift bag that I fold up and use as my garbage bag with a plastic liner in it. Sampling is so important. And so let's move on to Lee. I'm going to bring you to the phone again.
One thing quick, Robin.
Yes.
With the product sampling, this is where, at least for my Montana people, this is where we use that information gathering technique as well.
Just where I was going. Mm-hmm.
Yes, go for it.
Okay. The other thing about sampling is this, and Patrick and Mindy are really good at this part, Patrick especially. How do you get people to your table? One of the things I do is people are walking by, I will say to them, hey, have you had your CBD yet today? And it gets their attention. They stop long enough for me to get in their bubble. And I'm in their bubble. And while I'm doing that, Mindy, depending on how busy the show is, but we're getting a sample ready. We'll have a sample, but get the topical on that person as well. Because like Mindy said at the very beginning of this thing, if you're kind of at the beginning of the show and they start walking around, pretty soon they're coming back to you and saying, what did you give me? I've had a headache for 20 years and I don't have a headache anymore. So that's why we product sample. It's tax deductible. All right, how many drops do you guys give? 10?
Actually, I only do like 4, maybe 4 or 5, because everybody's different. And I use these little bitty ice cream, like party sample spoons, very small. You can buy thousands of them on Amazon.
Yeah, I did see, Robin, somebody said something about the spoons. And if you see them, they are little. And all we're doing, everybody gets a spoon, it comes sealed, and I just keep a little cup there for them to dispose them in. So you're not handling their spoon or reusing the spoons or anything like that. So the issue of COVID is no issue.
Right. And I often will put the handle in their hand.
Exactly.
And then drop the product. So they are physically taking it. It's in their hand. If there's a child there, I will do the same. I will put the spoon in the mother's hand and put a drop in there. If they choose to give it to their child, they can. We don't, and we say, we don't market to children. Okay, anybody else want to share about sampling?
Yeah, I would say if you don't want to deal with the spoons and the oils, just to use your powders. You can have those little teeny Dixie cups already filled with little water and just have them set in a tray. You can leave your booth and step out into the crowd and walk out with your tray, and that will bring people into the booth. Hey, sample, some of this edge. Are you tired? Have a little, need more energy? Try a little edge, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay, anybody else before we move on? Yes, Miss Lee.
Hey, Robin, it's Lee. My big thing and my big takeaway is not one person won't take you up if you'll use the topical and share it with people. When you're at trade shows, their feet tend to hurt. So I always have chairs in my booth. I tend to always have 4 chairs, 2 toward the back, 2 toward the front, where I can set them down because I want to be not the very first aisle when they come in. I want to be that second aisle where traditionally the shows we're doing, some of them have 200 and 300 booths. So by the time they go to the second aisle, they're ready, they're hurting. And they're like, what did you give me? I'm coming back. I want more of that. So I have not tried giving it to the spoon at the show, but I'm going to definitely take you up on that. That's a great idea.
It was, yeah. And Patrick would say, listen, I'll give you a dose of this. I'm not going to talk about it. You walk around, and when you feel better, come on back to my booth. And if I have some more product, if I have product left, I'll sell it to you. He's a salesman.
Love it.
Right.
Let me add, Robin, go around to the other booths. If there's a lull, it's very important to do that before the vendor fair even starts. But let's say there's a lull and you walk around these other booths, the other vendor people are so tired, they're hurting, you know, offer them some of your product and tell them you have more in the back, and they'll be over there to get some.
They will be your best salesman, because they, especially if you catch them when they're really tired at the end of the show and you've given it to them and they have had the best night's sleep, the very next day, what will happen, Mindy, well, people, right? Mindy they'll come back to you and say, hey, so-and-so down there at that one vendor guy said you guys could help me. They will push more customers to you because you've shared your product with them. So absolutely do that. Lee, you going to say something?
Yeah, one of
I
our
was just going to say vendors. The vendors are the
Vendors.
reason I do the show, because the vendors you get access to traditionally the day before, and never ever do a trade show and invest money and show up late. You always need to go at least be the very first one there.
And
Help
the last-
vendors. I'm very, every time I do a show, I end up becoming such good friends with the vendors.
Yep.
They send people back to me, and I always offer vendor coupons where they can get our products at a deep discount just if they come back. And I only offer it like a vendor card, and they'll say, as an incredible vendor, we want to take good care of you and come back to the booth. We'll make sure we give you this, this, or this.
Awesome.
And they always do.
I just want to say something. This is really important, and we'll move on after this. The guest information sheets, we won't talk too long about them, but it's a way to gather information about the person you're giving your sample to, and it will ask them some questions. That little sheet will be in 102, and also will end up on Global Impact. We didn't quite get it put together the way we wanted. Lee's got one working, and we want to use that one. So make sure you get to the next Wednesday when we do this again. The other thing I want to say is label all your products and samples. So you can see there's a label here on this one picture. And Gina, can you show us our camera? This is what we do to the bottle. It says our name and a phone number. We label all of our product this way because when that bottle is empty, that person's not trying to find a business card. It's right there, right? It's right there on the bottle. That's how we got Sarah and Dr. DeLuca, was that I taught Holly, label your bottle. And that's how she found how to get into this business. So if you're not doing that, absolutely do that. Yes, Gina.
Yes, so the regular Zilis label has a little gap where it goes together. Just
Yes,
do it
where the
in that
comes
gap.
not
So
covering any letters.
So you're not covering any information that's pre-printed on the label.
Right. Okay. Laptop for presentations. I'm a little lukewarm on that, but because I don't want people standing at my booth doing that. However, I do want to be able to enroll them. So I guess that's personal preference. And then you must have some way of taking credit card information. Very few people spend cash. So make sure that you have a Square. That's my method. If you don't have a Square, go to square.com. The little device is free. There is a fee for every swipe, but you can take that with you wherever you go, and you can use it at your vendor shows. Okay.
Also, Robin, add to this, because you're getting more and more younger folks using, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Make sure you have multiple options of payment. And then when you get there, if you are working with your team, find out what products they have, because a lot of teams work together. And what they'll do is one takes turn after another. So each sale takes a turn. So that way each person gets rid of some product.
Yes.
If you can't afford to do your own.
And we also have a handwritten sheet in case the Wi-Fi goes out, because we don't want to lose sales just because the Wi-Fi goes out. But we have all those payments ways too.
Perfect. So you have a way of taking credit card information on a document. Excellent. Okay, Lori, I'll let you switch it now. Oh, okay. So we're going to do a round robin here. And what is, keep it brief for time, what is your number one tip, each one of my panelists, for vendor show success? Who wants to go first? I'm going to start with Sandy, since you're at the top of my screen here.
I think my number one tip is that you got to be genuine. You got to find where you feel comfortable with in the market that you want to go into, and then go for it. That's my number one tip.
Absolutely.
Do what makes you feel connected, because they'll feel your genuineness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My number one tip is don't overtalk it. Let the product do the heavy lifting. You can spend so much time on a person that you miss so many people. Get the product in their body, and if they really are having, they'll come back and talk to you. So don't overtalk the product. Don't try to tell them all the things you know about it. They just want to know, is it going to work for me? Okay. Miss Lee.
Have big pockets, meaning get ready to be prepared, not having to grab things behind the booth or going to grab it. So aprons are excellent, a source with pockets, and you can have your logos or whatever you're using. Have deep pockets, and I always have small clipboards with the registration cards on it, and we'll show some of that Wednesday night. But that's the most critical thing, get their digit. I don't even let anybody touch my topical or my product without their digits. They do not get any of my info. They do not get my product without digits. So get their digits.
Can't follow up if you don't have their name and number, right?
Very difficult.
Yeah. All right, Judy.
Number one top tip is raise your table. Make sure it's elevated to chest high. It's usually got those little holes that you can raise it up. If it doesn't, go to Home Depot and buy these cones that you can set the legs of your table on. If you look at other vendor booths, you very often see the vendor owner sitting in the corner. Everyone comes up to their table and is looking down. Well, we are a person-to-person, very personal stories. You want to show them the product, eye contact, talking them eye to eye, and that's a big, big, big plus.
Absolutely. I think that's a great one. Miss Mindy Walker.
Kind of going along with what Judy said, stand in front of your booth. Try not to set up your area so that you're standing behind a table, because again, that just puts an obstacle between you and your relationship you're trying to build. So try to stand out there with the people. And I think having little Dixie cups full of our powder drink is a great idea. I'm going to do that next time.
Yeah, I love that too. Okay, Sandy, you said, right? Yeah, okay, thank you. Miss Pat Anderson, what's your number one tip? Miss Pat Anderson does every show she can get her hands on. I used to do them, and then my vendors, my downline started grabbing my shows. So,
thank you very much for that too.
Yes,
anyway, my number one tip on shows is when I first started, I did a lot of fast talking and everything because I wanted everyone to know how great the product is. And like Robin said, don't over talk. And what I have found is the things that we have people fill out while we're talking to them, I just talk long enough for them to fill that out. And then I take it from them. I used to just set it down and keep talking. I take it from them and see what all their things are. But I always check their email, because people have a real bad time of how they write, and their phone numbers. And I repeat them to them and double check. Because my first few shows, I had lots of bad phone numbers, or I couldn't read the email. There was no way to reach back out to the people. And a couple of them that I finally saw at another vendor show said, "Oh, we expected you to call." And I said, "Well, couldn't read your stuff, So they wanted to hear from me, but I kind of messed that one up. So I really, and then plus it stops, as you can tell, I talk a lot. It stops me from talking so much, because now I'm focused on their stuff, and then I'm remembering, as Danny always says, to ask them questions instead of giving them my information. Now I'm getting theirs. It was really hard for me to learn that, and those little pieces of paper really help.
Absolutely. And if you will learn that it's really all about them, and you're asking them enough questions, they will give you 10 reasons why they need your product. If you'll just shut up, ask questions, don't tell your story, ask the questions.
So
and then
Robin, you like open the door for me, because I have 3 questions that we ask almost everybody.
Okay.
One is, have you had your CBD yet today? Because we love to give it to them. The second is, what do you know about CBD?
Perfect.
So you know what kind of person you're talking to. Are they knowledgeable or are they not knowledgeable? Then you know how to drive it. And why are you interested in CBD? So then you find out their why. And if you can ask those 3 questions and let them spill their guts, it opens the right path for you to be successful with them.
Yep. And I love the topical. I mean, I'm right in somebody's bubble and I'm asking for permission. Can I rub this on your neck? And so I'm holding them. It's like my mommy's just holding and comforting this person. And I'm going to get that topical on them and they're just going to melt in my hands and say, what is that? That is the 15-second miracle. Use your topical. Okay, Miss Gina, what is your number one tip, dear?
Number one tip is be cognizant of your energy and body language.
Absolutely.
No crossing your arms in between customers or whatever, because crossing arms is kind of a don't approach me body language. So just be open, happy, and personable.
And do not be on your cell phone. Be engaged. Posture is the whole name of the game, because people think, gosh, these people think they're important. They think this product is a big deal. They're paying attention. So put your phone down, right?
That's right.
Miss Pammy.
My number one tip is to not let one person pass my booth that I don't speak to. I say hello. I engage with every single person, even if they're flying past my booth. I say hi to them. And my other big tip is your business card. I got a ton of business cards that I have no clue who I got them from. And I got this idea from Sarah. So when I give my business card out, they see my face on it and they know exactly who I am. So that I got from Sarah. It's the best business card I've ever seen. So, and I tell you, they hold on to them because they know that they call me the CBD lady. So it works.
Awesome. Okay, Cindy, what's your number one?
Well, you let me talk about my question, so I'm going to just repeat, don't information vomit on them.
Right. Yeah. Good idea. And also ask for referral. Who do you know that's hurting? Maybe there's somebody else that we should introduce this product to you. So Miss Gwen, tell us your number one tip.
I would have to say topical got my attention. So let the topical do the talking. I always try to be upbeat and engage them and make it about them.
Yes.
And they're very eager to tell you why they hurt or what their problems are and get that conversation going. And then I do love those cards, or I guess they're little notes that we have, and they love to fill out where they're hurting or what their sleep or whatever. And we have them fill it out. And I say, you know, put it in our drawing and maybe you'll be lucky and be the one who wins a free CBD, you know, so that you get your digits that way too.
Perfect. All right. Excellent. Well, that was really awesome. I even got some great tips from this. This is such a fun thing to do. When you finally decide, hey, I'm going to do this, you're going to have a ball with it and you're going to meet people you never would have come in contact with. And it will change your game. It'll change your business, right? Okay. So we're at the end of this thing. I just want to say to you that on Global Impact tomorrow will be a 45 to 50 minute training on vendor shows that my ambassador Dennis Hansen and I did. We did it about, I don't know, it's been several months ago, but it's super good basic 101 information. I would encourage you all to go and look at that. Lori, what did you get it from Dennis yet?
I have not seen it yet.
Oh, he wasn't going to even get it to you before 8:30 tonight. So It will be on Global Impact. I encourage you to go look at it, because then when you get to our event booth training 102, you will have some very smart questions for us. And 102 is going to be a whole, like I said, it's going to be a big dive into some specifics, right? Okay. Lori, was that my last slide? Dear?
It is, and I know we were going to do Q&A, and I'll look through the chat and see if there's any questions that have not been answered already.
Excellent. So yeah, let's do Q&A. Go ahead.
Okay, Star asked in the chat, what about music in the booth?
We don't, partly because it gets too, once your booth starts to fill up and it creates an energy. When your booth is there and you're sampling, your booth starts to fill up and everybody's looking at what the hell's going on over at that booth, and more people come, it gets too much. I don't do music. There's usually so much noise. What does anybody else think on my panel? Sandy?
Especially for people, you know, with hard of hearing and loud and masses and groups. You make your own music. And we had a big organization and we didn't play music.
Really do. And that pointer that Mindy gave where we don't stand behind our table. We are out in the hallway and suddenly you're talking to one person and there's 2 or 3 gathering around you. And now you've got kind of this group of people that you're talking to and your helpers filling spoons and feeding them all. It's a very big team effort, but if you do it right, boy, you can reach a lot of people.
Hey, Robin.
Yes.
I've got something to add to that, and it works really well. We've done so many shows that it's hard to talk and people can't hear you because whether there's a vendor with loud music down the way, especially the wedding shows. And so what I do is I actually bring a microphone and I actually talk to a microphone and I do that. And then all of a sudden I've got 5 or 10 people listening to the same conversation. And so that's an option. You know, you can buy one of those little small microphones.
That is so smart. And getting on to the 102 training, I'm just going to throw this in because Lee brought it to my attention. If there's an opportunity that you can spend time up on the stage and present educational thing about CBD, Mindy Walker did that once. She did a phenomenal job and it drove so much business to our booth. So ask when you book a show, ask, can I get on the stage? Okay. Any other questions, guys?
Can I get some information on Pam's business card that she was talking about?
Yeah, Pammy, where'd you get that? Dolly? You're muted, Pam.
I'll post it on the Global Impact with where I think it was Zazzle.com, and you just upload your photograph, and then I just put my information at the bottom and on the back side. So just very basic info. But the biggest thing is you want them to come across your business card and remember you, and just having your name on it doesn't, I have so many that I don't remember who I got them from. So I love this.
Robin, I want to add another thing about getting into runs. You know, when they have this summer, all the runs are going to start again, right? The walks and the runs and all those events, they usually will allow, you know, alternative health companies and healthy community opportunities to do booths at those events.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's good, Cindy. And I also do a lot of the natural and holistic ones. Those are really good. And they love having CBD people.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing I do, just as the last tip, well, we can still ask more questions, is I keep a 3-ring binder and I have May, April, May, June, July, August, and I keep my vendor applications in my month because soon you should be booking your Christmas vendor show or your fall vendor show. And by keeping those in a 3-ring binder, I can say this show was awesome. This is what I did. This is who I connected with. And I'm ahead of that vendor show. I'm not waiting for a notice. I know that in July, Mary Jo's having a vendor show and I'm going to get my application in. All right, Mr. Steve, my friend, you feel prepared for your show on the 8th? All right. Okay. Anybody else have any questions, guys? Awesome. Lori, thank you for the lovely job hosting this.